The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. Yesterday, we started a discussion with Alex and Sam from YFC, specifically at our Johnstown campus. And if you didn't catch that episode, go back and listen to that so you can hear a little bit about their personal story and their walk and kind of why they decided to be a part of YFC and maybe some of the challenges that they faced as we were going through COVID. They got to start with YFC right before that hit and work through all that. Now we're on the other side, and we're going to talk today about how ministry is today, what it's looking like in the future, and many of the other opportunities that are available with YFC. So welcome back in, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome.
As we were talking yesterday, we kind of wrapped up with hey, we finally got through COVID. We've done some struggles with how we had to deal with different learning styles now with kids that just wanted to kind of stay sheltered in place. They kind of got used to that for a little bit, and now getting them to get back involved and kind of get back to what we know as normal life. And how are things right now going on in Johnstown for YFC?
I think it's been great. We're so glad we're kind of on the other side of that. And we're coming off of a couple successful years trying to rebuild the ministry. And I think Sam wants to talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah. Post-COVID, like we talked about, it's kind of a uphill battle, but we really started to see some momentum and started to see the students that were coming just have fun and wanting to tell their friends. I think that mixed with, the work we do in the schools, doing our mentoring groups, as well as like our lunch duty assistance that Alex mentioned yesterday, has been crucial, because when we do those, every middle school student in the Johnstown area recognizes our face because they see us a couple times a week in their lunchroom interacting with them. And over the past 3 years, we've seen, I think, a steady incline in growth. So we've had about 90 or so students that have come out to our meetings that we've been able to confirm don't have a relationship with God. We talked yesterday a little bit about how are we different than like a normal, church youth group.
Yeah.
We really try to connect with unchurched kids. That's a huge part of our mission. Is, we want to reach the kids who maybe have never heard the gospel before. And so of the couple hundred or so, a little over 100 students we have seen over the past few years, we've, like I said, 90 of them don't know God. And of those 90, we've had 24 receive Christ over the past 3 years, which we're really thankful for. A particular student that I think too, his name starts with B. He started coming back, I think, this past January. He did his football lifting with another student that does come to our stuff pretty frequently. And then after lifting ends, and 2 minutes later, our meetings began. And so they walked from the school to our building because he was interested in it. Came out, had a great time, and over the next couple of weeks, he was super consistent. And I was talking to him, and he's like, I've never heard this before. Family doesn't go to church. I know of Jesus, but I've never heard anything about him. And his heart was definitely opened up to the gospel message when we were talking about. And he, during one of our small group discussions, was like, hey, I believe who Jesus is and what he did for me, but I don't know how to pray. And so we had to kind of help teach him what is prayer and how do you pray, so he could ultimately make that decision to pray and ask for forgiveness. And so since then, he's still been super consistent. It's been a ton of energy to our meetings. Has been able to get some time when he can with leaders to just learn a little bit more and just connect on a more personal level. And that's just kind of a small snapshot of all 24 of those students have a story like that, where we've gotten into, build in with them. Some of them it took a couple months, like Brandon. Or B.
That's a fake name.
Yeah, fake name. There's a lot of Brandons. And some of them...
Billy.
Billy.
Bobby. Yeah, all
and
those.
some of them have taken, a year plus. But we've been able to stick in with them. So I think that's been really awesome. And just seeing how God's used us in that capacity.
Well, I think you bring up a great point. Alex, when you shared your testimony yesterday, you talked about I really wasn't in the faith growing up, and Sam, you were on the opposite end of the spectrum. I grew up as a church kid, and even when you were sharing that on yesterday's episode, I was thinking you guys make for a great team, because I'm sure a lot of the youth can kind of gravitate to one or the other depending on past experiences. But probably a different dynamic when you guys are meeting as YFC as opposed to, say, a regular church youth group. A regular church youth group, you've got a lot of church kids that are there, and maybe from time to time you hope and you try to pull in outsiders, but your core are basically the kids of your faithful members, and so you got a bunch of church kids there. Where for you guys, it may be the opposite. You may have a lot of kids that really don't have that kind of foundation at home. And as you're even sharing that testimony, the idea that somebody would say, I don't know, like, even how to pray. Like, I don't know. And for those of us that have grown up in the church, it's like, how could you live in America and not know what a prayer is or how to pray? But the reality is that's just our perception from how we grew up. You guys see the reality of the world we're actually living in right now that is a post-Christian world where we are almost to the point, I'll go this far, we're almost to the point that we're past post-Christian, we're almost to pre-Christian. And the reason I say that is because as you're looking at missionaries, you approach a pre-Christian culture differently than you would a culture that's had faith and walked away from it, a culture that's never had faith. And in many regards, you guys are approaching almost a pre-Christian audience. They don't know the stories that maybe we all grew up on. They've not had those experiences, and to them, maybe this is all brand new. Yeah, could you speak to that? Are you seeing those?
We do see a lot of kids come in that, when they hear these stories that maybe, a lot of us, we kind of take for granted because we grew up on them. They get to hear it for the first time, and there is something like really cool about that. Getting to explain, walk them through David and Goliath for the first time, and Noah and the ark and everything. And to have their eyes like get really wide, like, wait, that's not just like some fairy tale. Like, you're like, no, this is real biblical history. And so, on the one hand, it's kind of sad because you're like, wow, where have you been? Oh, COVID, right? You're on your phone. And then on the other hand, it's like really cool because we get to really introduce them in an authentic way to what God's been doing throughout history and what His plan is and what Jesus did. So when we're racking our brains thinking about, okay, what's our next teaching series going to be? We don't really have to go much further than the life of Jesus because it's always new to them.
Yeah.
And, that's great because then we don't have to go into end times prophecy. We don't have to go into Numbers and Chronicles. Like, that stuff's really fun and there's a time and a place, but we love being able to just kind of root them in what Jesus did and how He interacted with people and who were those people that ultimately received Him. So...
Now, we've kind of alluded to it. You talked about kind of the lunch duty you guys do, and we've alluded to the fact that you guys meet aside from that off campus. So tell us the particulars, first of all. If somebody was listening today and they're like, hey, you know what, I might want my student, or maybe there's a student listening that might want to be involved. What are the times and places and opportunities to be involved at YFC in Johnstown?
Yeah, so starting, I guess, with out of school, we have on Tuesday nights from 7 to 8:30, we call them club, Campus Life Club, where we have fun, play games, go through Bible teaching, discussion groups. Since our partnership with you guys, we've been able to have both our middle school and high school meet at the same night, which has been awesome because it just means more kids in one place, having fun and seeing the excitement that's there. And then when we, come teaching time, we kind of split where the high schoolers will go into your guys' sanctuary and the middle schoolers will stay in like the fellowship hall kind of community area. And it's been so fruitful, not needing to split up the high school and middle school that much because they're all friends. They've all grown up together. So that's on Tuesday nights. And then we do our mentoring groups in the school. We kind of partner with the guidance counselor and some of the teachers on like, hey, who do we want in these groups? How come, like, what students could use the actual support, or hey, what students like are identifying themselves as leaders in their class, and we can help hone those like skills and character qualities. And so we run think 5 groups this semester. We do them by semester. We have 2 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, and then 2 on Thursday. And for us, it's great because we go straight from, their study hall period where we do these groups, and the next period's lunch. So we just do the groups and then immediately go to the lunchroom with the students. And through those different, programming things we do, we've had 25% of the Johnstown Middle School has been involved or attended at least one event we've had, whether it's our out-of-school Bible study or our in-school mentoring groups. And that's been true for the past 2 years. So we're really, really thankful for that reach we've been able to have.
Those are phenomenal numbers and very encouraging to hear that a fourth of the student body you've been able to have contact with them and share in one level or another. Yeah. We had talked a little bit when we weren't recording that there's a lot more to Youth for Christ than just kind of what we know as kind of the typical Youth for Christ, which is what we've been talking about. I think you guys refer to as campus life, where you guys are involved in the schools and you're also offering, meetings during the week offsite. Maybe Alex, if you could speak a little bit to what are some of the other outreaches under the umbrella of Youth for Christ?
Well, it's a pretty big umbrella, and I feel like it's taken a handful of years just to get a decent understanding of it. Sam has a really great perspective too, because part of his job is actually onboarding people into a lot of these other ministries. But I thought it was just, hey, you're going to work in a neighborhood and you're going to reach kids for Christ. That's, I guess, bare bones. That's kind of what we do. But the way that we sort of specialize this ministry as it's grown throughout Central Ohio has been fantastic to watch, because we have a ministry that started that focuses on the deaf and hard of hearing community. And you talk about a niche community that not many people can communicate with effectively. And they're in the schools working with this population, signing all the gospel, the Jesus stories and everything. And they're seeing kids just sign up on wait lists to get involved in their programming. It's awesome.
Wow.
We have another ministry called City Life. We're a campus life that's a little bit more suburban focused. City Life is a little bit more urban focused. So it's centered on the west side of Columbus and Franklinton and the hilltops and the bottoms, and then on the east side around Livingston and everything. And those are some difficult areas. And so we really, we entrench ourselves in the community so that we can see change from within. And we provide a lot of neighborhood assistance. We bring in a lot of really dedicated, loving volunteers to work with, just different demographics. We have a ministry that focuses on taking kids and teaching them and equipping them to develop skills for, that's helpful for getting a job. That's our Equip Enterprises ministry. Am I forgetting any?
Well, I think I saw even you have an outreach for military also, that there's kind of like a military life where you're having that kind of outreach as well.
Yeah.
Since you're doing a lot of onboarding, maybe if you could talk to us a little bit about how do people get plugged into these various ministries, and if someone was listening today, like maybe this is something for me, how would they get involved, and kind of what process do they go through?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ultimately, you have to end up emailing me or someone named Paige. But if you go to our website, which is COYFC or Central Ohio Youth for Christ.org, there's kind of a section where you just click volunteer, and it lists off some of the ministries we have, and from there you just essentially apply. And then from that moment, we'll connect with you, schedule a time where we can meet, talk more, fill out some paperwork, and figure out, okay, what is it that you want to get involved in? Because we'll probably talk about it a little bit, but there's different needs for different ministry sites, and there might be one person who has a burden to help out in Johnstown and likes working with the more suburban, population. Maybe some more than me. I have a similar story to a lot of students we work with. So I felt a real calling to this, but maybe you have a desire to work with, in our ministry we have called Grace Haven, which works specifically with survivors of human trafficking in between that 11 and 19 age range. So I think God puts it on every individual's heart how he wants them to serve, and we have a ton of outlets to do that and serve in really practical and tangible ways. But yeah, just go on our website, look up volunteer, apply, and then we'll kind of guide you through the rest of the process. We try to make it, both seamless and easy, but also thorough, because we really are protective over our ministries and want to make sure that, we're screening, doing background checks, and, have people who are there for the right reasons.
Sure. Now, Alex, if you could speak a little bit to kind of the status of things right now in Johnstown. We spoke with Mark Johnson from Gehenna, and they're facing some struggles right now because had a long time relationship with Gehenna schools, and that has been strained recently. But they're still being able to do ministry, but they're hoping to get back in on a more regular basis. How are things in Johnstown, and what's the partnership like there?
When I first met with the principal of the middle school and the guidance counselor, I didn't really know what to expect. We've had a relationship with them for a long time. In fact, many people might not realize this, but we've actually been in Johnstown for 20 years. Sam and I haven't, but we have been there. And so we've had, relationships on and off. I didn't know what I was walking into, and the principal and guidance counselor were like, "Hey, we are Christians and we are praying that these kids receive Jesus. Tell us how to help you do that." My jaw just dropped. I was like, I never expected that kind of reception from a school.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I feel like the relationship we've had with the middle school has it's been incredible. It's been really enriching for our own sanity, our own ministry, but our own just love and the way that we feel that God can use us in this capacity. I didn't have that reception with the high school a couple years ago. And that was kind of rough because we did have an ongoing relationship with them, and then they kind of ended it. And that's been really hard to get around high schoolers if you can't kind of get into the school. And of course, you can go to some of the sporting events, and you can kind of work organically through friendships. But man, being able to get in the school is a great way to just kind of get in proximity to the kids and meet them and form a relationship with them. So both really good and, hopefully improving on the horizon.
Good. And I guess that will segue us into this next part of if you're currently looking for some help or looking for some volunteers, maybe people that attend our Johnstown campus would be interested in that, or other ways, challenges that you might be facing, help that you need, prayer requests that you have. Could you kind of speak, either one of you, to kind of those issues?
Yeah, I feel like Sam wants to hit a couple, and I could hit a couple.
Yeah. I'd say if there's probably 4, specific ways that we're always looking for help and looking for people to get involved with. The first one, and also probably the lowest time commitment one, depending on the type of person you are, but is prayer. We have weekly prayer emails that we send out, and we love hearing that people want to be put on that list to get those emails. And some community groups, people will get that email, and a group of 5 or 10 of them will spend 30 minutes a week praying for our ministry. And we think that's where a lot of this growth that we've seen and the number of students we've reached, expanding is because of all the prayer we've been getting for our ministry. So that's one really, really important way that people can get involved. Another one that is also, really important, we've, kept bringing up the past time we've been talking is our in-school stuff. We're always looking for more people who have the time and are willing to go into the schools and kind of relive their glory days in middle school. I still get nervous.
Are there glory days in middle school?
I still get nervous talking to the principal there. He's a great guy, but I'm talking to the principal. And the food smells the same as you remember.
Yeah.
We're always looking for more people. Alex probably touched on this a little bit, but we're hoping to expand, not just in Johnstown, but outside. Our site's called Northwest Licking County, and there's other school districts in that area that we'd love to continue to grow into. And so, having people who can do those in school mentoring groups. And another just quick story of a student. This one's name is E. We'll stick with E this time. But she was a 6th grader who was put into one of our mentoring groups her 6th grade year, and did that. And from there, connected really strongly with our leaders that were there. And she wanted to check out our Bible study. And so after a couple of weeks doing the mentoring groups her 6th grade year, she checked it out, loved it, came to Christ after a couple months, and she now is an 8th grader who just transitioned into our high school group and has been meeting weekly with one of our leaders for 2.5 years or so, reading through the Bible, studying, and that really ties back to our mission, which is developing lifelong followers of Jesus. And so it's so exciting to see the ways that those small, it seems like small moments of, hey, this girl was put in our group and we're interacting with her, to, hey, now she's being discipled, and is has a desire to follow God for the rest of her life, and we get to play a role in that in this stage of it. So if you want to go over a couple more.
Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of success stories that I think we always want to hear, and we always want to see people champion themselves to take on the mantle for that. That does mean man hours. I mean, 2.5 years meeting weekly with a girl, probably about an hour and a half hangout time. There's an hour drive, so we're talking in the hundreds of hours, right?
Yeah.
But who's going to say that that's not worth it? When you see this girl go, from a horrendous life with a really unsupportive family to, something of the semblance of some sort of stability, emotional stability, and have leaders and volunteers that really believe in her. That's what we want to do for kids. That's why we show up. That's why we make the commute. So we're always looking for volunteers to engage with us in that way. Man, if you want to have a powerful impact in a kid's life, this is a way that you can do that. Other reasons why we need that is because, like Sam said, it's Northwest Licking County, right? We're setting our sights on other schools. We've seen what we've been able to do in the Johnstown Middle School, and then hopefully soon in the Johnstown High School. But, I'm also traveling down the road. I'm trying to hit Northridge, which is just about 10 miles up the road. And we have an open invitation in a lot of ways, but it's the manpower to get there that we can't always overpromise. So whether it's that, whether it's Alexandria, whether it's Heath, it's ambitious, but that's how Jesus said he wants the gospel to spread. He wants it to go neighborhood to neighborhood, community by community. And hopefully as we win through with communities, we see people passionately take up the mantle themselves.
Well, it's great. We love partnering with you guys, and everything that we've seen happening at Johnstown. We've had some great interaction up there, and hope that over the years that we're able to expand that even more. We encourage you to be praying for YFC. Also, we're going to include those links there that they were talking about in the description. If you can't find those, or you're just having trouble with it, email us at podcast@shepnaz.org, and we'll forward that request to Alex and Sam and get you plugged in that way. You can also check out everything that's going on in church by going to shepnaz.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Alex and Sam, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.